In the dead of night, across endless highways, long-haul truckers navigate a world of solitude and shadows. This is the lonesome road, where the isolation of overnight deliveries blurs the line between reality and nightmare. Real dangers haunt these journeys. Deadly accidents on fog-shrouded highways, cargo thefts at abandoned rest areas, and the relentless grind of sleep deprivation that can end in catastrophe. Yet alongside these tangible threats, psychological perils emerge from the darkness. Fatigue-induced hallucinations that make shadows come alive, and highway hypnosis that steals awareness mile by silent mile. Tonight, we delve into one chilling example: the warehouse that wasn't there. A tale where the lonesome road's isolation peels back the veil, revealing horrors born of the mind and the night. Meet Frank, an experienced trucker with 20 years on the road. His days blend into nights, 12-hour shifts, hauling freight across endless highways, often alone in the quiet darkness. Then comes the call from Sarah, his dispatcher. We've got an urgent pickup, triple rate, new pharmaceutical distribution center west of Omaha. But there are red flags. A new facility, off the beaten path, with raw coordinates instead of a proper address. Still, the money, it's hard to refuse. As Frank pulls away from the familiar highways, the first sign of unease creeps in through his radio. What started as clear music begins to warp into static, the signal fading in and out like a dying breath. The roads beneath him start to show their age. The smooth asphalt gives way to cracks and potholes, each bump a reminder that he's venturing into less maintained territory, far from the well-traveled routes. Mist begins to gather around his truck, swirling in from the sides like an unwelcome fog. The winding road ahead disappears into the haze, turning familiar landmarks into ghostly silhouettes. His GPS, once a reliable companion, falls silent. The screen displays a stark message: signal lost. No directions, no reassurance, just the void of uncertainty as he plunges deeper into the unknown. Now fully isolated, Frank drives down a long, desolate road stretching endlessly into the horizon. The silence presses in, broken only by the hum of his engine, as the weight of solitude begins to creep into his mind. Following the mysterious coordinates, Frank navigates deeper into the outskirts, where the road leads him to what locals call an industrial graveyard, a forgotten park filled with dead factories that time has reclaimed. The buildings stand like skeletal remains, overgrown with weeds and shrouded in neglect, their faded facades and wrought iron gates hinting at better days long gone. Inside these decaying structures, rusted machines and graffiti-covered walls tell stories of abandonment, while the dim light filtering through cracks creates an unsettling atmosphere. As Frank enters this desolate area, something feels off. The air seems thicker, shadows linger longer than they should, and a nagging sense warns that this place is not entirely abandoned. Frank finally reaches the coordinates in the middle of nowhere. The GPS leads him to what should be a bustling warehouse district, but as his headlights cut through the darkness, the scene unfolds with eerie ambiguity. There it stands, or does it? The warehouse appears real enough at first glance. An old industrial building with faded facades, boarded windows, and metal panels that speak of long-forgotten commerce. But something feels off, like the building is holding its breath. Frank blinks and looks again. Is the building overgrown with ivy, or is it just shadows playing tricks? Parking permits flutter in the breeze, but the wind feels absent. In real trucking stories, drivers have reported similar sights: warehouses that seem to melt into the landscape. Then the warehouse seems to shift. Bright lights illuminate the corrugated metal exterior, steam rising like breath in the cold air. But where are the forklifts? The security guards? The dispatcher claimed this was a high-priority pharma delivery, yet the place looks like a ghost town. In trucking lore, similar warehouses have vanished entirely. Frank wonders if this is one of those cases, a rusted hulk in the desert, weathered by time and neglect? Or is it just fatigue playing cruel tricks on his mind, like the documented cases of sleep-deprived drivers seeing phantom structures? Frank calls the dispatcher, his voice shaky. This place doesn't look right. But the dispatcher insists, "It's there, Frank. Just unload and get paid." Despite his growing unease, Frank feels compelled to proceed. In real cases like Maria Gonzalez's 2024 incident, drivers have been sent to spoofed locations, only to find empty lots. As Frank approaches, the warehouse seems to waver. Is it real, or just another hallucination born from exhaustion? The graffiti-covered walls tell stories of neglect, but in the dark, they might be hiding something far more terrifying. Frank begins the unloading process, but everything feels off. An unnatural silence hangs heavy in the air, broken only by his own movements. Strange shadows move across the walls, twisting in ways that defy the dim lighting. Frank feels an unsettling sense of being watched, as if unseen eyes follow his every move. He questions the facility staff, but their responses are vague and unsettling. As Frank tries to leave, everything plunges into darkness. Back in his truck, Frank calls his dispatcher Sarah, desperate for answers. But Sarah's response shatters him further. She denies any knowledge of the delivery, claiming there's no record of it in the system. This denial hits Frank like a psychological blow. Gaslighting, a form of manipulation where someone makes you doubt your own reality, is a real tactic used in various situations, from relationships to workplaces. Here on the highway, it amplifies Frank's isolation. Was this delivery a prank by colleagues? A hallucination from fatigue, common among truckers working overnight shifts? Or worse, a deliberate cover-up to hide something sinister? Frank is left questioning his sanity, a terrifying feeling in the vast emptiness of the open road. In the world of overnight trucking, where drivers battle fatigue after long hours behind the wheel, the mind can play tricks. Sleep deprivation often leads to hypnagogic hallucinations, those eerie moments when the brain creates visions of people, landscapes, or objects that don't exist. These hallucinations stem from real causes like insufficient rest, with studies showing truckers experiencing visual illusions in up to 86% of cases. A fatigued driver might mistake shadows for figures or see phantom vehicles on empty highways. Just like Frank, who arrived at what seemed like a mysterious warehouse only to find it vanished, many drivers report similar disorienting experiences. In reality, these might be the brain's way of processing fatigue, creating vivid but false perceptions. Research shows sleep-deprived individuals, including truckers, maintain greater social distance and show heightened brain activity in areas processing near space. This psychological response to isolation can amplify the terrifying effects of hallucinations on lonely night roads. One of the most enduring legends in trucking folklore is the phantom hitchhiker of I-40. This spectral figure is said to appear near Albuquerque, flagging down truckers for a ride that ends mysteriously. In 2025, a driver named Jake shared a chilling encounter on TikTok. He described picking up a ghostly woman who vanished from his truck cab, leaving him shaken. Investigation revealed it was a fatigue-induced vision, a common hallucination among truckers working long night shifts without proper rest. Over the past decade, there have been more than 100 similar reports, highlighting how sleep deprivation can create terrifying but illusory experiences on the road. Maria Gonzalez was a seasoned trucker working overnight deliveries when she received what seemed like a routine dispatch. The job promised good pay for delivering pharmaceuticals to a new site, but the coordinates led her to an empty field instead of a warehouse. The dispatch came through her trucking app, complete with precise GPS coordinates. But unbeknownst to Maria, these coordinates were spoofed. Hackers had manipulated the satellite signals to send her to a completely different location. When Maria arrived at the supposed delivery site, she found nothing but an empty warehouse. The coordinates matched perfectly on her GPS, but the reality was a desolate industrial graveyard. She had been the victim of a sophisticated scam. This case, much like Frank's experience, highlights the dangers of relying solely on digital tools. Trucking apps and GPS systems are essential, but they can be spoofed or manipulated by cybercriminals. Drivers must remain vigilant, verifying unusual dispatches through trusted sources to avoid falling victim to these digital deceptions. Cargo theft is on the rise, with incidents up 12% in 2025, according to FBI data. This growing threat targets truckers during late-night deliveries, turning routine stops into dangerous encounters. Imagine this real-world scenario. It's midnight at a desolate truck stop. A weary driver parks his rig, thinking he's safe for a quick rest. But in the shadows, thieves lurk, ready to strike. The robbery unfolds quickly, with thieves using tools to break into the truck. This incident, captured on dashcam, led to a high-speed chase and sparked new industry protocols for overnight security. To stay safe, truckers are advised to use secure parking areas whenever possible, as shown in these parked rigs. Proactive measures can deter criminals and protect valuable cargo. The demanding life of a trucker takes a heavy toll on mental health. According to the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, mental health claims among truckers rose 15% in 2026. Take Alex, for example. He's been driving for years, spending weeks away from home. The constant solitude on long stretches of highway wears him down. Data shows this isn't isolated. Mental health claims have been climbing steadily, as shown in this graph from earlier years. Unpredictable work schedules make it worse. Truckers like Alex navigate shifts that can change at a moment's notice, disrupting sleep patterns and family connections. And the isolation compounds everything. Hours alone in the cab, far from support, lead to stress, anxiety, and sometimes deeper mental health struggles. This combination of isolation and unpredictable schedules creates a growing crisis in the trucking industry, affecting drivers' well-being and safety on the roads. One of the most chilling trucking mysteries involves Edwin Carter, a trucker who vanished during an overnight haul in Texas. His truck was found empty on a desolate stretch of highway with no signs of struggle or foul play. Officially ruled an accident, the case sparked widespread speculation. The incident captured national attention when it was featured in the 2025 documentary Haunted Highways. The film explores this and similar cases, presenting them as potential evidence of paranormal activity on America's highways. Online forums and social media buzzed with theories of ghostly apparitions or time slips, blending the real trauma of Carter's disappearance with trucking folklore. Despite thorough investigations, the case remains unsolved to this day. Stories like Edwin Carter's highlight the eerie unknowns that can lurk in the shadows of overnight trucking routes. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a leading sleep specialist, explains how overnight trucking amplifies suggestibility. She notes that drivers prone to seeing patterns in chaos may interpret fatigue as terror. True stories often stem from real trauma, like isolation-induced anxiety. Consider a trucker on a late-night haul, already exhausted from hours alone on dark roads. Their mind, weakened by fatigue, becomes highly suggestible. A flickering light or rustling sound gets interpreted as something sinister. This is where psychological factors like sleep deprivation, isolation anxiety, and trauma misinterpretation come into play. What starts as a genuine experience can become distorted, leading to the terrifying tales we hear about. Understanding suggestibility helps us separate fact from fiction in trucking stories. It reminds us that many eerie encounters are the mind's way of processing the very real stresses of the job. In response to the growing number of trucking horror stories, industry leaders like Chris Spear, CEO of the American Trucking Associations, emphasize focusing on real facts and safety measures. The statistics are alarming. Over 4,000 truckers die annually, with 30% of these fatalities happening during overnight hours when fatigue is most prevalent. In total, more than 125,000 people are injured in commercial truck accidents each year. Fatigue plays a critical role in these tragedies. A comprehensive infographic reveals how drowsiness impairs reaction times, sometimes worse than alcohol impairment, and outlines symptoms like yawning, heavy eyelids, and drifting lanes. Industry response focuses on education. Drivers receive training on recognizing fatigue signs, taking proper rest breaks, and accessing mental health resources. Programs include telemedicine for stress management and awareness of hazards, like prolonged sitting and isolation. By shifting focus from sensational stories to proven safety measures, the trucking industry aims to reduce these preventable tragedies through comprehensive education on rest and mental health. Take the case of Maria Gonzalez, the Nebraska driver who experienced that terrifying warehouse disappearance. After the incident, she was able to access telemedicine through an app right from her truck stop. A virtual therapist helped her process the PTSD, and within weeks, she was back on the road feeling supported. Along the highways, new smart stops are emerging with AI monitoring. One such stop in Texas features cameras that detect when a driver looks fatigued, automatically suggesting a break. For Edwin Carter's colleagues, these stops provide a sense of security and community, reducing the isolation that contributed to his mysterious disappearance. These innovations are making a real difference. Telemedicine programs have reduced mental health crises among truckers by 22%, while apps like Calm for Truckers have cut hallucination reports by 18% through guided meditations available during rest stops. As the industry embraces these technologies, the terrifying isolation of overnight trucking is giving way to safer, more connected journeys for drivers like Frank and countless others. As autonomous trucking technology advances, the future of overnight deliveries looks set to change dramatically. By 2030, experts predict that autonomous vehicles could reduce human night shifts by 40%, according to industry forecasts. This shift might diminish the number of eerie tales born from hours of isolation on dark highways. With electric and self-driving trucks becoming more common, the traditional image of a lone driver battling fatigue and shadows could fade away. However, climate change might bring new challenges to the roads. Extreme weather events, like severe storms or flooding, could create fresh mysteries and dangers for any remaining human truckers. In the quiet hum of truck stops, drivers gather not just for rest, but for connection. Around campfires or in dimly lit lounges, they share trucking tales that turn isolation into shared experience. More than entertainment, these stories serve as coping mechanisms. Drivers use them to deal with the psychological toll of trucking, the loneliness of empty highways, the weight of fatigue, and the constant unknown. By sharing, they find solidarity. These tales are cultural touchstones, part of trucking's rich folklore passed down through generations. Online communities like Reddit's Ars Trucking keep them alive, while podcasts amplify the stories. The focus on overnight deliveries captures the mystery of darkness, where the familiar world fades into the unknown. As trucking embraces cutting-edge technology like autonomous vehicles and advanced safety systems, a veteran driver named Jack reflects on his decades on the road. He recalls the eerie overnight hauls that fueled countless tales, but now wonders how these innovations will reshape the profession. Real-world examples show this balance. Companies like Tesla and Waymo test self-driving semis, potentially slashing human exposure to isolated night routes by 40%. Meanwhile, features like adaptive cruise control and blind spot cameras, as seen on modern trucks, enhance safety during those vulnerable hours. Yet the human element persists. Jack knows that while technology mitigates physical dangers, it can't eliminate the mental toll of solitude or the unexpected glitches, like hacked GPS systems leading to phantom deliveries, as in recent Nebraska cases. As autonomous trucks rumble quieter and routes become data-driven, the nature of trucking horror stories may shift from ghostly apparitions to cyber threats or AI malfunctions. But the core anxieties, fatigue, isolation, and the unknown, will endure, reminding us that some roads are traveled by the human heart. Before we wrap up, take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever felt an eerie presence during those late-night hauls? Maybe a strange encounter at a remote stop or something that made you question what you saw. We'd love to hear from you. Share your trucking stories or personal experiences in the comments below. Your tales could be the next chapter in our community discussions. Let's build a sense of community among drivers and enthusiasts. Join the conversation, connect with others who've been there, and keep the stories alive. Before we wrap up these chilling trucking tales, I want to share an important disclaimer. While the stories we've explored are entertaining and draw from real experiences, it's essential to separate fact from fiction. Many accounts blend genuine dangers with exaggerated myths, but the core message remains. Safe driving and mental health are paramount in the trucking world. For instance, take the phantom hitchhiker legends. While some stem from real fatigue-induced hallucinations, as documented in sleep studies, others are purely fictional. But the real threat is drowsiness on the road, which has caused countless accidents. Always prioritize rest stops and avoid driving when exhausted. Mental health is another critical area. The isolation of overnight hauls can lead to stress and anxiety, as seen in reports from truckers who've experienced disorientation. Focus on managing stress through activity, healthy eating, and quality sleep to stay sharp and safe. Just like distinguishing shark myths from facts, we must discern which trucking tales are true dangers versus tall tales. Remember, cargo theft and breakdowns are real, but some eerie encounters might just be your mind playing tricks after long hours. So, enjoy the stories, but drive safely, take care of your mental well being, and always question what's real. Your safety on the road depends on it. As we've explored the eerie world of overnight trucking deliveries, from phantom warehouses to the real dangers of fatigue and isolation, it's clear that safety must come first. Support trucking safety initiatives by contacting your representatives or organizations like the American Trucking Associations. Advocate for better working conditions for truck drivers. Push for laws that ensure adequate rest breaks, fair wages, and mental health support. Real change happens when communities get involved. When you're driving, be mindful of truckers on the road. Maintain safe distances, especially in blind spots, and avoid aggressive maneuvers that can create dangerous situations. Finally, remember the importance of rest and mental health. Fatigue contributes to accidents and hallucinations, so encourage proper sleep and access to mental health resources. By taking these steps, we can transform the lonely highways from places of fear to corridors of safety. Thank you for joining this journey through the shadows of trucking.